very much to Dr. Usman and all the panelists for that very interesting discussion. And thank you, everybody, for remaining so quiet at the back of the room so that everybody here can hear the discussions that are taking place. It's appreciated that those of you who wish to have a discussion are stepping outside to do so. And now, a round of applause for our last panelist, one last time. And it's my pleasure to now call onto the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Steve Griffiths, Vice President for Research, Interim Associate Provost, Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, whose keynote will emphasize on the role of research, development, and collaboration in technology innovation.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today. Before we start with my presentation, there was one group that was not here in the morning for the awarding of the Educational Sector Best Innovation Award. So it's two people I'd like to call to the stage to receive their award, Tazeen Sharif and Shaheen Hussain. Please come up and I'll present you with your award. You hold the award. Welcome. Okay, we'll get into the topic of my discussion today. As I said, it's a pleasure to be here today to talk about the role of research and development and collaboration and innovation. Very important topic for the UE, very important topic for Masdar Institute. I think my cell phone is causing some problems. Technology gets in the way sometimes. So we will start off, first of all, in this discussion by talking about the difference between research and development and innovation. Very closely aligned concepts, but slightly different. I think it's very important that we understand what the differentiations are. With research and development, we're investing money in order to generate knowledge and technologies which become foundations for innovation. Then innovation becomes essentially the connection of these knowledge and technologies to commercial opportunity. And that generates revenues and profits which can be then reinvested into R&D, and it becomes a virtuous cycle. The virtuous cycle, when it's run through the proper innovation system, which involves industry, government, and academic collaboration, stimulates economic growth, which we all seek to see. The innovation ecosystem, I don't want to go through all the different players. Many of them are very important. They all have a key role to play. What we do want to focus on is the conceptual aspects of the innovation system to see how everything comes together to enable R&D and collaboration to support innovation. At the conceptual level, we have innovation environment. The innovation environment is supported by the government. We have government looking at regulations, looking at the policies, setting a competitive environment so innovation can flourish. Human capital is very important. Masdar Institute, as I'll talk about, is deeply involved in human capital development, setting the manpower capability for innovation to occur. We also have the physical and financial capital, which is extremely important for innovation. Not just the research institutes and the infrastructure to perform research, but the financial infrastructure and angel investment, venture capital, private equity, all of those that enable financially innovation to flourish when good ideas are available for us. We have then the science and research and development infrastructure. This is very important, obviously, for technological innovation, which is the focus of today's discussion. When we get these innovation ecosystem components together and we establish innovation, which is the central red component there, we can have different types of innovations. Not everything is a new cell phone, a new material, a new technology. In that sense, we have process innovation, we have business and service method innovation, and then we have the product and technology innovation, which excites us and is what we look at in new technology generations with iPhones and so on and so forth. The key takeaway from these early introductory slides is that innovation requires multiple inputs. We need the human capital, we need the financial infrastructure, we need the physical infrastructure, and we need technological inputs. Very importantly, research and development, although it's not the only conceptual or direct input to innovation, it's extraordinarily important for technological innovation, doing those things which we know economies are built on to establish new technologies in ICT, new technologies in transportation, so on and so forth. Why is this so important for us at Mazar Institute? Why is this so important for the United Arab Emirates? This is the year of innovation, 2015. There is a national innovation strategy. The innovation strategy sets forth a pathway for the UAE to become one of the world's most innovative economies in 7 years. We have 7 sectors in which innovation is being established: renewable and clean energy, water, transportation technology, space, health, and education. In order to achieve innovation in these sectors, there are key components of a holistic strategy which are coming together. I've spoken about all these components already, and the UAE is adopting them, as you'll see as we go forward here in the discussion. Regulatory frameworks, critical. Technology infrastructure, critical. Investment, extremely important to make sure that we can scale up early and late stage companies as well. And then the human capital, R&D, and innovation infrastructure, that's where I want to focus a lot of the discussion today, because we're continuing to look at Mazar Institute and with our other partners, which is the focus of the collaboration aspect, the innovation in the technologies which are so important for establishing the future of the country and the future for industry and economies globally. In order to look at the innovation system in a more holistic way and get a sense of all the players that come together on the research and development front, on the innovation front, I think it's very useful and instructive to look at the innovation life cycle from a different perspective than what aerospace might talk about, technology readiness or what have you, but look at it from a more conceptual sense. On the right side of the spectrum in the technology innovation life cycle, we have the industry, which is working very importantly on scale-up of nearly commercially viable solutions, going forward with commercial diffusions of new technologies, and really making innovation happen. On the left side of the spectrum, what we call the upstream part, we have very fundamental technologies. We have the basic sciences. Sometimes I talk about the 3 O's, info, bio, nano. Lots of very, very fundamental, important technological and scientific discoveries happening to set the stage for innovation, say 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 30 years down the road. In the middle is a place where R&D and collaboration come together very well. It's a place where we put a lot of our effort because we see discovery science and use-inspired fundamental research giving us the opportunity to take those new technologies, those new sciences, those new frontiers, bring them forward to the understanding of how we can apply them for practical applications where innovation is happening, and make the most out of them. And so that's where we are seeing at Mazar Institute the opportunity to pursue the use-inspired and discovery science research so we can establish collaborations with industry partners, academic partners, and become important players in the innovation ecosystem. I'm going to talk about the innovation ecosystem and use the paradigm of Mazar Institute, what we're doing going forward. So it's important for me to give you a little background about how we've established innovation and what we're doing at Mazar Institute. The Mazar Institute is an independent university, not-for-profit, established in collaboration with Massachusetts Institute of Technology. We are graduate level only, so we're heavily research intensive. We focus much of our effort of the time of the faculty and students on research, which we hope will lead to innovation. We are dedicated to some of the key components of the innovation ecosystem, which I was speaking about previously. There's the trained human capital, which has been mentioned a few times today already. You have to have knowledgeable, innovative, creative people that go into the companies to become innovators. We have the knowledge generation, mentioned previously in the IBM presentation. You have to publish papers, create knowledge, disseminate knowledge in order for innovation to have frameworks in which it can flourish. And then finally, there's the technologies. The technologies can be direct solutions with partner companies. They can be in forms of intellectual property, which we then license to companies, or we turn those technologies into startups. IP can be a foundation for new companies. We already have a very good academic environment, so I think that speaks for itself, being a university. And we have faculty and students working in the academics, as well as the research, which I'm about to further elaborate on. The research at Mazar Institute, the way we've structured in order to be as closely aligned as possible with the innovation strategy of the UAE, is to have different, what we call institute research centers, each focused on one or more sectors that are covered in the National Innovation Strategy. So if we take, for instance, the Energy Center is focused on clearly clean and renewable energy. The Water Center, it's water and environment, focused on the water sector. Also the space sector to some extent, because we do a lot of environmental remote sensing, and so there's a lot of things that can be done around image processing using satellite data for climate purposes. We additionally have an iMicro Center, microsystems. Microsystems clearly is very important in technology, technology defined as semiconductor and ICT, which is a big part of today's discussion. And then the Smart Center, smart and sustainable systems. We're looking at industrial systems, energy and water systems, and other systems that come together around technologies which create the opportunity for innovation in many of the paradigms we've talked about today, not the least of which is big data and the applications of that. The Innovation Center is cross-cutting, and so when we look at the different sectors in which we want to establish innovation, you need proof of concept funding, you need training of manpower and education, you need training of manpower and education that's toward innovation, and so we do that with the Innovation Center. Very importantly, and what you may be asking is, why do we have this focus, this horizontal, on advanced materials and nanotechnology? And I'd say this is a horizontal that's extremely important for the country when you look at the sectors that it's pursuing. So aside from education, if you look at the other 6 sectors of innovation strategy, all of them to an increasing extent are going to depend on advanced materials going forward. Advanced materials, as we know from history, about 2/3 of all technological innovation is some way related to an advancement in material science. 70% of the GDP or GNP of modern Western economies is in some way related to advancements in materials. Additionally, when McKinsey did its study a few years ago of the top 10 potential disruptive innovations for the future, of course, you saw autonomous vehicles, you see big data, you see 3D printing, but advanced materials was the forefront. Not just ceramics and metals and polymers and composites of these materials, but looking at new types of materials which you may never have heard of. We're looking at, I'll talk about today, 2D materials, graphene, metamaterials. Now, instead of nanotechnology, people talk about smart materials. So everything that we talk about with regard to ICT innovation in some way is going to have a material science background coming forward to help support that as we go forward. So we have focused a lot on trying to enable the capability in advanced materials technologies. We've got infrastructure which is clearly very good. We do fabrication, we do imaging, we do materials characterization and synthesis, we do 3D printing. But when you talk about innovation, you talk even about research and development, it's not what you have in order to do the research or do the innovation, it's how you leverage what you have. And so we continue to push forward in the different areas in which we do research to achieve research and development toward innovation in areas such as renewable energy, even in the oil and gas sector, supporting their efforts, looking at new catalysts. In water, clearly in the region, it's very important to have new desalination technology, so we look at that. We look at water recycle reuse. In the microsystems, semiconductor means many things. It can mean smart sensors, it can mean new flexible electronics, many types of technologies required for your cell phone, required for smart cities, for many different purposes. The Institute Center for Smart and Sustainable Systems, again, many different things come together as far as technological packages, and so the system can be sensors, it can be new technologies that are 3D printed, many different concepts come together so we can leverage the nanotechnology and material science perspective to enable. Additionally, we have innovation centers these days where we're training individuals how to be entrepreneurs, how to be creative. We give proof of concept funding so you can start to take an idea out of the lab and look at how it's going to make an impact downstream. We have technology transfer offices, and those allow us to look at intellectual property and how that can move forward from the university to the hands of partners or even creating new startup companies. We have a new accelerator, which we're going to be launching off this year. Acceleration not being exactly the same as incubation, but looking at how things that we do at Mazar Institute, as well as what others are doing that want to come to Masdar City to do development of their technologies, how they can be given proper training to develop the business idea so that becomes either further incubated or spun out into a successful company. And it doesn't just stop here. When you look at how we try to structure an entire innovation system, you look at the outputs of what the Institute and what this system that I'm describing allows you to do. You get trained manpower, students that are very creative. They can be entrepreneurs in their own right, starting companies. They can be innovators in big companies. All the big companies, they need people to think creatively and are trained scientists. We also have the ability to transfer technology to industry. And so transfer of technology, it certainly can be IP, but it also can be transfer of knowledge. Sometimes if you look at a research agreement, the way they define IP can be very broad. It's know-how, it's the embodiment of actual technology produced, it's copyrights. So there's so much around what is intellectual property that transferring that to the partners is an important part of what we do. And that allows me to step into the next part of the discussion, is how important it is to be in partnership with the best organizations, the best academic institutions, and the best government agencies so that you can achieve innovation. At Mazar Institute, we try to continually keep a large body of partnership going at any one time. Right now, we have about 40 different partnerships with global companies, local companies, government agencies, and that allows us to see where the use needs to go so that the R&D can continually make its way downstream and become useful for the economy and for businesses. I'm going to give you an example about how innovation is happening through the material science perspective with big companies and how the big companies are leveraging a university like Mazar Institute to look at the transformation of their own businesses. If you look at the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company or any of their subsidiaries, energy is traditionally a very slow-moving sector. Most of the technologies we have today are sort of 19th century. It hasn't been very exciting to do new things. But now we're seeing with materials advancements, big data and the like, the industry is moving much faster. The National Oil Company is looking at a new material, graphene, for sensors for pipe scaling detection, precipitates that form in pipes, something very important for their business. The Takrir is an oil refinery. They're a subsidiary of ADNOC. They want to know how they can develop better catalysts so they can refine oil better. Baruch is a plastics manufacturer located in Abu Dhabi. They want to see how they can innovate in plastics, having nanocomposites incorporated, so that they'll have better oxygen resistance within their products, making food safer and longer lasting. Additionally, we look at the model aerospace. Now we're going to the aerospace sector, which does have a lot of innovation, but still has slow turnover on a relatively long time scales, where you see brand new innovations happening in aerospace, because obviously the fleet of aircraft we fly in today is not that young. Nonetheless, locally there's innovation happening, new ways of doing business. Downstream, I'd say higher technology readiness. We have the local partners looking at non-destructive testing using thermography, so they can detect in their own composite aerostructures, using carbon fiber aerostructures, how they can detect problems and using new technology, not just going with the ultrasounds or previous technologies, which always worked historically, always doing things better. Even in the military, when we have vehicles, we want to design these vehicles so they have a lower thermal signature, so when the electromagnetic spectrum interacts with the armor, it gives off less visibility for whatever purposes that may be. So we've worked on that. It's a materials problem again, but it's a design problem as well. With Lockheed Martin, they're traditionally a very strong innovator, and so we've worked with them on many different aspects of carbon nanostructures. You're going to hear a little bit more in the talk about what is a carbon nanostructure and what is graphene. The bottom line for these guys, they're an aerospace defense company. Obviously, everyone thinks aerospace defense military has a lot of negative connotation, but they're doing a lot of things that are important, very important, for the energy sector, the water sector, and consumer technologies, and we work with them on those things. Carbon nanostructures for advanced water purification technologies, looking at how you can make overhead high voltage transmission of electricity more effective with lighter weighting of the cables while still maintaining the same level of conductivity in the cables. The carbon nanostructure materials we call for aerospace applications, but it turns out when you look at conformations of nanostructures and you start looking at their electrical and mechanical and thermal properties, you get all kind of different properties when you start putting these in rolls and sheets and flakes. And so we've looked at different applications. It turns out some of the best applications are in consumer electronics. So you don't want to get a fog on the surface of your smartwatch or smartphone. These are the kind of materials that allow you to prevent that in the future, that we hope. So that gives you a sense of what we're doing with the industry. There's many more things I can describe, but it gives you a little bit of flavor about how important it is for university industry to keep generating these ideas with an idea of where that application is going to be best suited. But it doesn't stop with the partnerships with just the industry. Industry is very important. It's also further academic partnership, looking at how to have impact. So today, the paradigm is that universities are not just doing the fundamentals, just doing the things in the lab that don't have meaning. We continue to look for how these really great scientific breakthroughs are going to have big impact. And so I mentioned we're partnered with MIT. We're also now partnered with University of Manchester. This is a very interesting collaboration because it's in the area of graphene and 2D materials. I'll talk about what those are, but I want to first highlight the partnership. We work with Manchester on looking at innovations with these novel types of materials in sensors, membranes, new composites. And not only do we look at the science, which is quite fascinating, as you'll see with graphene and 2D, we look at how to take the science and put it into application. So as part of the partnership, yes, we do the university research between Manchester and Mazar Institute, but we also in 2017 have an engineering innovation center, which we located in Manchester, where we look at how to manufacture this. We look at how to scale it up. We look at how to transform these scientific revolutions into new products for various sectors. It's extremely important because if you just take these novel lab-based scientific outcomes and don't figure out how you're going to manufacture it, how you're going to turn it into a new solution, neither industry that's currently established nor new startups can benefit from it. So we're doing this in a very exciting area. Why are we doing graphene? What's the purpose of it? Graphene, quite simply, is a material that has changed the way we understand physics. With graphene, we are seeing a sheet of carbon atoms, which is one atom thick, and when you put the material in one single plane in two dimensions, you get a whole new set of physical properties. So here I have just a few of them listed. So graphene is 1,000 times lighter than paper by weight. By unit weight, it's 200 times stronger than advanced high-strength steel. It's about 1,000 times more electrically conductive than copper, 10 times better heat conductivity or thermal conductivity as copper as well, and many, many different superlatives, the best of this, the best of that, and it's all in one package. But the key is not the science. Physicists and material scientists have been really excited about this for 10 years since the graphene was first isolated. The Nobel Prize went to University of Manchester faculty in 2010 for this isolation. But that's just physics and that's just material science. It's what you can do with it to transform sectors. And so here I've listed out a couple areas. These are not just my thought of what could be. This is where there's active pursuit of a translation of the technologies into new innovations. Flexible electronic displays, anything we do with ICT is going to require this. Ultra-fast computing, if we want to use big data, we got to be able to compute quickly in many different architectures. Advanced composites, solar power, energy storage, and of course sensors for healthcare, sensors for smart cities. All these kind of areas are the areas that we're looking for having innovations based on graphene. Graphene was just the start, though, to tell you just how amazing this potential opportunity is. When you take the paradigm of graphene, isolating a carbon in 2 dimensions, we now find that we can isolate pretty much all the elements on the periodic table in 2 dimensions. Not just that, we can start to put together different elements on the periodic table in 2 dimensions, particularly the transition metals. There's about 118 elements on the periodic table. With 2D materials, we think we have about 500. And so each one of these 500 two-dimensional materials has a unique set of properties. Not just in the two-dimensional material, you start to put them back together in 3 dimensions, you have more properties. Then you start to play with the conformation of the 3 dimensions, you have more properties. So it's essentially an explosion of opportunity around material science, which allows us to be very excited as material scientists and physicists, but that's not the key. The key is what you can do with it. Again, coming back to the paradigm, how we take science, how we take research, put it into practical application, and that's what I'm showing here. All the sectors that graphene is trying to impact, the same as with 2D materials. So this is just an example of how we're trying to bring forth the research and development through collaboration with academia to stimulate the innovation that we know is so important to establish innovation here, growth in industry here, and globally. This is the final slide. So I come back again to how we are trying, as almost as a case study, to establish in the entire ecosystem required for innovation. Certainly as university, the upstream part, key importance in knowledge creation and such, but with the new partnerships, especially with the University of Manchester, what we're doing with the industry partners, we continue to try to move further downstream so that the innovations are brought forward out of the institute and with our partners in co-development. The ultimate end is that if for the UE, all the different sectors in which innovation is being established, we want to be a partner in that, we want to provide value, we want to see not just research and development happening, but we want to also see the economic value created, which is so important for companies and economies at large. So with that, I thank you for your attention and would be happy to discuss later.
Thank you very much, Dr. Griffiths, for that very insightful keynote. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the third panel discussion of the day, which is actually one of the most vibrant topics: how to make smart cities even smarter. Now, smart cities hold the promise to potentially make the cities around the globe more efficient, more tech-savvy, and more wired. And with all that, they can hopefully improve quality of life for the citizens. So I would like to call to the stage Mr. Mohammed A. Omar, Department Chair, Department of Engineering, Systems and Management at Masdar Institute of Science and Technology, the moderator of the following panel discussion to begin. Thank you very much.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I wanted to do things a bit differently, so that's why I invited all the panelists to be on the stage. This way we hopefully can save time and less theatrics. So our topic for today is about how to make smart cities even smarter. I wanted to say a couple of words, give you a couple of figures just to motivate the topic and the scope, and then basically move into the introduction of the panelists for today. So right now we're seeing that there's a heavy urbanization trends happening. We're seeing 1.5 million people moving into cities every week. We're seeing the growth in Europe into modern cities to be expected in the 550 million people by 2020 and 2030. And this is not specific to North America or Europe, it's also happening here in the region. In the GCC, people estimate by 2030, almost 60% of the people will be living in cities. In 80% of the global economic output will be coming from urban cities. Having this at one end, having the other end, having a smart city, and dealing with the sustainability challenges using these smart technologies. That's why we have this panel today. So with this brief introduction, I would like to move to the introduction of the panelists for today. First of all, I would like to thank all of them for coming today, and thank you. I see a great audience with big numbers, so that's very enticing for the discussion today. I would like to start the introduction in no specific order with Jeroen Schlosser from Equinix. And Jeroen, I'll give you 1 minute to tell us a little bit thing about yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much, Omar. My name is Jeroen Schlosser, Managing Director for Equinix in the MENA region. Equinix is a global provider of data center services, and about 16 years ago, the company was founded by people that witnessed the deregulation of the telecom markets in the US, and then saw that the carriers in those days struggled how to build an interconnection network that was neutral and how to grow what we then didn't really know was what the internet became today. If I make a quick jump, stay within the 60 seconds. Today we operate over 105 data centers globally, about 11 million square foot of data center space with about 1,100 network operators and about 4,500 customers in the space of cloud service providers, enterprise financial service providers, and integrators. And if we look at smart cities, or if we look at Internet of Things, we see that our customers, both on the network side as on the service provider side, they are struggling, they're finding ways forward to deal with how people move their data sets from a more system of record-based architecture to the people, to the edge. And how do networks deal with that? How do mobile operators deal with that? And where do we position those workloads to make smart cities possible? And I think that's the interesting part of the discussion today.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeroen. Moving to Anthony Serra, our strategist from Dell and the Internet of Things.
Yeah, thank you. So I represent Dell as a lead for the Internet of Things for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I'm primarily looking at business development, but also our go-to-market strategy as a company. So you think, why Dell on this stage? We have a very pragmatic approach to how we'll address IoT and how we address smart city initiatives. So I'm pleased to be here today to share some of our views, but also share opinions that we will have today during this session. So it's good to be here.
Thank you, Anthony. And of course, Rania Rustam, the GE Eco-Imagination Center, MENA region, and Turkey.
Great, yeah, so it's great to be here. I am the Chief Innovation Officer for GE across the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey. And really our focus and this role, what we're trying to do is accelerate growth through collaborations with partners, with customers, trying to solve the big challenges of what GE does, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But it's looking at some of the big, technology trends. We call it the industrial internet. It's the internet of really kind of big things, which is what we do with the gas turbines and the jet engines and advanced manufacturing. So really through our innovation centers, through open innovation, crowdsourcing, we're trying to solve better, more locally for our customers here in the region.
Thank you, Rania. I am Al-Akhras from Fujitsu, the head of development.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. Being a global company with a Japanese origin, smart city is a topic that's close to Fujitsu's heart. Tokyo is the largest city in the history of the world with 38 million people. So it's bigger than a country the size of Canada or Saudi Arabia. That meant that we had to tackle the challenges of a mega city and think about a smart city before anyone else. And we would like today to discuss and share with you some best practices and human-centric innovation that we've brought along this journey of smart cities, and I'm very happy to discuss it and continually discuss it after this session.
Thank you, Ayhan. We're moving to Muhannad. Muhannad is the Director of Business and Development at Etisalat.
Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Etisalat, which has grown over the years from becoming an incumbent in UAE, has now been operating in 19 countries. And to look at the development that has been had in this region, there was an initiative to create a digital section in order to look at those innovation in different areas. And here I hope to give a perspective or an opinion on how we're enabling smart cities, smart industries, and different areas, different markets to share some experience, basically.
Thank you. And last but not least, Tommy Rayeto, our regional director from Intel. Tommy, I'll give you 27 seconds to keep in time.
Good afternoon, everybody. At Intel, our strategy is simple. If it's compute, it's our business. Naturally, we realize that in the smart city domain, it's not just technology or computing. It's all about people interacting with systems in a seamless manner. And that's why we don't just sell chips to computer manufacturers, but we also engage with end users, with system integrators, solution providers to make innovative solutions in smart cities.
Thank you, Tommy. So with that, I'd like to start with an opening question, which is basically, how would you define smart cities and how they can become smarter? And the reason I'm asking this, because we're seeing a lot of definitions for smart cities. Are they the connected cities? Are they the consolidated cities in their urban shapes? Or are they the cities that can provide services to their inhabitants very quickly? So I would like to throw this question to the panel and say, how is your definition of smart city from your perspective?
If I would share some thought on this, there are many different definitions for a smart city. In simple terms, a city is smart if it makes use of intelligent solutions and technology combined to improve the lives of its citizens while utilizing its resources in an efficient and sustainable manner. That being said, we have to look at it as a journey and not just a box, because citizens, government entities, and businesses have to work together to create such a smart city. So in other words, you have to continuously improve yourself and improve the quality of life of the citizens. Think about how you can be innovative and look at this as a continuous journey with the destination always moving and you striving to continuously and sustainably improve.
Tommy, would you like to add more?
I want to add to IHAM that there is no city that would be, or major city that would be completely dumb, or neither is a city that would be completely ready in this journey in smartness. So everybody's there somewhere in this continuum of becoming smarter. Some cities approach it more holistically, trying to see the big picture and really design various verticals, vertical emphasis. Some cities are just following the flow and letting things happen at their own pace under certain verticals. But essentially, it's a journey for every city to become smarter in their own way, whatever happens to be the objective of that particular city.
I think one of the things is that it's made up of a smart subset of systems. So it's not a holistic approach. If you're looking at sub-smart systems or smart subsystems that actually make that into a holistic environment, the connectivity you need to bring together is key. So I think it's a case of, there's a holistic approach, but we also discussing before we came on how we see this, and I think it's important to take a realistic approach when you start, what's pragmatic, what's scalable. I think that's a key part of it. Can you scale it up, can you scale it down?
That's an excellent segue to my next question. Since it's a journey, it's a process, it's about the holistic approach, it's about the integration of those smart subsystems and modules. How would you see, as a group of companies with different product portfolios and technologies that you introduce to the market, technologies that spans from Internet of Things, smart meters, distributed sensors, fast computing, how can we integrate these technologies into the actual physical infrastructure? The horizontal one, supply chains, road and transport, and the vertical one, such as the buildings. How can we make our buildings smart and sustainable?
So maybe I'll take that one to begin with. So most of you would know, like GE, as the 130-year-old company, we're in the business of hardware. So we're in the business of, building the gas turbines, the jet engines, the MRIs, the CT scanners for the healthcare industry. And so, but more recently, in the last 4 years, we've invested very heavily in software. We built a global Center of Excellence in San Ramon in California, and we've got over thousands of software engineers all across the world now. And so what we're looking at doing is marrying hardware and software together to help solve for smart cities and kind of big industrial ventures and facilities. So, it basically kind of comes down to how do we marry the physics and the analytics. So, for example, like if I look at, street lighting, and we think about, we do the LED street lighting, so that's kind of like the hardware. And what we're doing now is investing a lot in the modules that can take the analytics into predictive, intelligent insights, which we can use. And so basically we take, the journey that we talked about earlier from hardware, sensors that sit within the hardware, and take that into analytics and insights, into mobile apps. And so what we really call this, we built, for GE, we built, it's the first kind of cloud-based platform for the industry. So I'm not talking about the industrial internet, which we call Predix, and basically upon which we are going to develop a lot of apps. And I think really, I think to answer your question, one is the marrying of the hardware and software, and the other piece of it, which is really, really big, is the collaboration and the partnerships. And all the inviting, how do you have that open platform where a lot of collaborations can happen? So that's kind of where we're at right now.
That's a very good answer. Anthony, would you like to add more to this?
Yeah, I think it's the same for us as a company. We've also invested heavily in software as well, and we think that the choice is really how you want to distribute that compute. So we coming from a technology standpoint, we're an IT company, but we're also very clearly defining our strategy around IoT, and particularly in the gateway segment, and we partner closely with Intel in this portion of the business. And this is where we see the ability to allow you a flexible framework that allows you to look at where you put the analytics, how do you use the cloud, how do you look at security, privacy, and all the different standards that go around connectivity. So it's about how we work and collaborate with companies like GE, other companies and SIs, in order to enable this type of approach, because it is a very big area to address in terms of smart cities as a holistic approach.
Jerome, any final thoughts on this question?
Yeah, final thought would indeed be, and underpinning the story of Rania, for us as Equinix, it's about, with our customers, building an infrastructure that really interconnects all the player in the smart city components. So how can we enable our customers to build scalable infrastructures, agile infrastructures, to bring the data to the people, to bring data to systems, and make a difference in data that you need to process real time on location, and perhaps data for analytics that you can process on a cheaper location in a more sustainable way at another location. And that's the layer, I think, that will set the success, and it will set the ability of a smart city to grow and innovate further.
That's an excellent coverage for the technology adaptation and integration into the physical infrastructure. What about if we move to the social aspects? The users, the inhabitants of the cities, who will experience the physical structure, will interact with the digital fabric that you're providing. I'm going to ask you 2 points, kind of to discuss and converse, hopefully, about. The first is, how do we include the social aspect in a proactive way? Should we do crowdsourcing, community-centered design, or should we do it in a post-mortem analysis? Let's look at case studies that we developed, collect the information about a sentiment analysis, kind of an exercise where we measure the happiness of people, then go back and actually implement that in our new technology as code proposals. Any takers for the social aspect?
If I may. Yeah. So when you look at the social aspect, you need to take a hybrid model. So you need to take a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach to be able to successfully roll out a smart city solution. And I had the pleasure of enrolling in a professional diploma of smart city with RIT. And within the group of professionals, we had to submit different ideas about what would be the most successful smart city project. And to lay light on the social aspect, I was awarded the best smart city idea for a crowdfunding platform where you engage the citizens, backed up by the government, to vote for which ideas they think best suit their needs for a smart city. Because there is no one destination for a smart city. Each city has different challenges and different needs, and there is a degree of locality in each one of them. So when you engage the citizens in this, but at the same time partner between public and businesses, you would be able to adapt faster and get the buy-in from your people, and social media would be, a vital organ of this model.
Just to add to what Ayham said, today there are two interconnected approach whereby you need to have a way to sense the city mood, city happiness, city crowd busyness, and how all of this insights can be translated into actionable item. And in the other way, there are the content which is being generated by all of those consumers and visitors of the city and stuff. So both has to come together into the art and science of social science and behavioral science to see how to predict the next best action. How could we know from the patterns of your communication, the spending behavior? How can spending behavior extract some insights into the real estate industry? And all of these things would not be possible without the two.
Of course. So I'm going to pick with Anthony right now. And Anthony, Dell have done some case studies, some experiments in the city of Dublin, for example. How can we translate some of their best practices to a regional context? Do you think it could be translated very easily, or how can we localize that?
The work we're doing is very primarily based on research, and it's with partners, just as we have here. And I think it's about really looking at, if you look at European cities, it's about financial life. What do they have in terms of finances? Pretty much nothing. Now, how do you actually then start to finance a smart city? And that's what starts to bring open a whole new concept of monetization, and how do you actually look at the changing business models that we heard about this morning in the keynote. So I think it's about how we are looking at how do we initiate, consort in terms of how we partner into initiating meaningful projects that deliver value. I think for us, we're all consumers in this room. I measure my standard of living around my happiness, I think. And so I need to figure out how do we make it apply. If I just apply the technology, does that really deliver the happiness? I need to figure out how do I get affected. And so we're looking at the aspect of how do you allow a citizen of a city, or even how do you scale that technology in the city to the countryside. So it's a combination of both. But we're very much in the kind of research phases and looking at projects where there could be some meaningful proof of concept. Also looking at how do you make a subsystem smart. Parking bays that are open and closed are useful when I'm parking a car. But what if it was telling me where exactly those parking bays were and what my options were when I was in that car park where I could park, telling my car or telling my phone. So I think it's about how we're developing those things as an initiative. So I'll open up.
Anthony mentioned parking, and it, let's say a good coincidence, because we're actually working with Dubai Silicon Oasis, so closer here than Dublin, and we've actually completed the proof of concept on exactly what Anthony just mentioned as a smart parking, where you as a driver would go in and really communicate through technology, find out where is the vacant parking spot, get it reserved, and you're able to cut all the hassle. So I think, with that as a first step, you can evolve into smart transportation, and that's how you put the building blocks of a smart city.
Any other thoughts on the issue? Maybe the issue of privacy, and Tom?
I'd like to add one thought. This is an innovation event, and thinking about from the innovation perspective and building on some of the ideas here already being presented. I think one of the key aspects of approaching smart city in a really smart way is not to expect that the best innovation happens within the walls of big multinational companies or instead, it most probably will happen throughout the broad ecosystem of developers and innovators. And in order to make them work for your city, technologies like APIs are key to basically expose the information, not just for the governmental entities, but to the broader developer community, of course, in a coordinated and controlled manner, and let them innovate based on that information. It's almost like the same thing you think about the smartphone, which is the device we all love. If you expect that the smartphone would be ready as is, as it ships from Apple or Samsung, and you would be able to add, or developers would be able to develop on top of it, I think it would be very little value for all of us, just basic functions like calling and SMS. But the real value for all of us in the smartphone comes when the broad ecosystem builds these applications we love, sometimes which are local, and we add them, and that's where the value really comes, and that same applies to smart city.
Just going back to privacy, I noticed that everybody's shy to talk about privacy, but this is a fundamental framework that has to be established before smart cities become smarter. We have to feel safe as consumers, as citizens, as residents, as visitors, that the data that we generate is being handled correctly. So Etisalat is active participant and working closely with the government of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the federal government in order to put together a confidence level in the system whereby the data has to be classified according to the needs without infringing the privacy. How you can disrupt those pockets of innovations between the large players and small players without actually knowing the identity if this person has medical issues or that person is looking for a job and so forth. So it is important to set that confidence level before we evolve into smarter cities. To give you one example, there would be in health industry lots of innovation whereby today if you go to a hospital, there will be a record in one. If you go to the other one, you have to start all over again. How do you make those two healthcare providers understand your situation, your medical history? How, when you go out of the physician, go to a lab or a pharmacy, not struggle explaining what is written by the physician and how would the medical error. All of that is innovation. So sometimes it's monetization, but sometimes it's saving other lives or saving costs for others. So this is important to have a consent from the customer to say, I want to participate in this journey. I want you, like any Facebook, to allow me to get over this complexity of technology and extract more value.
That's a very good point, actually. It's an excellent point, which is the cross-sharing of information while protecting privacy and taking the local context into consideration. Because right now we're moving into an age of individual health, where each one of us basically might get medicated differently for the same disease. So moving to the next theme, in your vision, what do you anticipate to be the breakthroughs in technologies that will accelerate the realization of a smart city? Or maybe not a technology, maybe it's a business model or a partnership model. Because we have to talk to different governing bodies about how to do the sharing or implementation of technologies. Because at the end of the day, the owner of the city and its planning is basically a municipality or a city council of that sort. Any thoughts on the subject?
Okay. Let me just summarize what we were talking about in order to go to the business model, because that is an outcome of the conversation. So smartness of the city becomes like an immersive experience of people who's living there, removing the barrier of technology, having conversation in natural language with the city and getting what you expect as information, as transaction, maybe to issue a license, to a certificate. And once you realize that there are three players in this, one is the people, the other one is the infrastructure or technology and everything that we want to get out of the way, and the other one is the city, these entities that are today smart but in silos. So if you want to connect them with those smart elements from GE, Fujitsu, Dell, and Intel, you need to create that kind of a multi-layered approach integrated in one system. So we're not talking about the conventional ICT integrator. We're talking about even data integrator. We're talking about data science. We're talking about how to ensure security across the board with the privacy framework that you implemented. And at the end, those smart elements from those partners, how they can provide the different components that the customer wants. Now, Etisalat, in this case, is a broker. From one side, it's a consumer. The other side, it generates data like other entities. So what our take in this is to work with smart partners like this and create multi-layer approach where the infrastructure, be it the fiber, wireless, sensors, on top of it the data lakes, where we gather everything securely. On top of that, applications that the city built, and finally that innovation part where they open everything to the public. So innovation from within, innovation from outside, to open that data mart for others to innovate. This is where the cities compete with each other. This is where they differentiate the business model. So when we work, the city would know you. Those data attributes will become the digital persona that will identify your needs and also personalize the service it provides to you. So I agree that this is a very important thing. Maybe during the 15 minutes or 20 minutes that we're talking, maybe there was 500 hacks happening at the same time. But through that, privacy that you set through from the beginning as a framework, through that technology that comes from the partners, thinking about that platform that you put, this is really going to be the secret sauce of Dubai, whereby the digital identity would be the tomorrow's persona for you to personalize your services.
Thank you for that. Jerome, any final thoughts?
It is indeed Dubai, smart city, or the country as a smart country almost, is an inspiring environment to work with its ambition. I think where we need indeed to focus and to look is how we see adoption by its citizens. Are we really seeing the adoption that we need from the citizens to drive sustainable business models? Are we really able to bring all those enterprises, and 80% of a smart city will be the enterprises? Are we able to transform them into businesses that have a sustainable business in this smart city? Can we interconnect them with each other? Can we interconnect them with the citizens in the city? And that's where I see our focus going forward.
Anthony, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I think for us, I think it's about the vast amount of data that's created or generated in a city like Dubai. A lot of that data actually is useless, but if you can actually start to aggregate that data, make sense of that data, you start to have a predictive model. So for me, smart Dubai and smart UAE makes absolute sense, but you need predictive data to make it really work. All these combinations have to come together to make that happen. That'll be my final thought.
All right, thank you so much. We have 5 minutes left, so we can use them for food for thought or food for the stomach. You decide, guys. Any questions? I see a lot of hands. I don't see a microphone.
Good afternoon. Maria Sashinska, open data researcher. So I have a question about open data, because in Europe it's a big trend already for a few years, and it's very much supported by policymakers. So the question is, how do you see potential of open data and public sector information in this region? Thank you.
Can I interact? Yeah. So today, like we have app stores for Apple and Google, governments like government of Dubai and the UAE is going to put data sets available where it is completely anonymized, aggregated, safe to use, clean. It has to be clean and concise and continuous in order to make sense. So there would be initiatives and laws that are issued in the country in order to make sure the participation of different government entities, where the DIWA, the RTA, the Dubai Police, all come together and those data and create those like a data sets whereby entrepreneurs like here, they would look at how do you go from point A to point B in Dubai, which commuting mode to use, and at what time, and what are the prices, by the way, in gas would be in that time. So all of this would be done with the framework that I said. That is the readiness from smart to smarter. And there would be a law for everybody. But that is only the phase one. The phase two would be how businesses, how companies like Etisalat, do malls, everybody come and put lots of data there, mash it up, lots of smart data scientists comes and bring patterns. You know, those patterns that will tell you this is the data for transport, this is the data for smart meters, these are the data for healthcare.
All right, so we can take a second question.
Hi, I just want to say thank you so much for such an interesting discussions about innovation technologies in our world and cities and people. With that in mind, I just want to say, first of all, I'm really pleased that we've had quite a few ladies being awarded the innovation awards today. And I would like, with that in mind, especially talking about smart cities, how much companies, in fact, are drawing attention to the need of bringing in more young girls and women into the professions, into the innovation technology, into the sciences, whether companies are actually making efforts, plans, strategies to include them in their R&D plans and programs, and maybe address these from schools, universities, as well as professions. After all, women do make half of the population of any nation. And it's urgent for smarter cities and the innovation technology to include women's brain capacity into the board and into the picture.
Yeah. Can I take that one? Not being the woman on the panel, but also totally agree with you. I'm very passionate about the same thing. I'll give you one example. For our first patent out of our Saudi G Innovation Center, it was a software solution for our oil and gas business. One of the key team members that played a key role was a female KAUST graduate. She's a PhD graduate, and she played a key role in that patent. So, the bigger, broader thing is, yes is the answer. We have to. It's not a question mark anymore. It's an imperative for companies to look at that. You know, we've got everything from looking at young female engineers. They've got to be on the shop floor just as much as the guys are, and we're pushing that very hard, whether it be here in the UAE or Saudi Arabia. We're looking at different kind of programs focusing on how do we bring in more female engineers into the company. So I don't think it's a question mark anymore. I think as you look, you've got to work through the line. You've got to make sure that you're bringing them in, but you're also kind of working their career. You're enriching their leadership experiences. So I could go on this one for a long time, but it's not a question anymore. It's a must. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's less productivity for everybody, whether it's companies or whether we look at it in the ecosystem. Yeah.
I've just been told that we're out of time, but
My last question, I came from Saudi Arabia to attend this event. I think
Okay.
I deserve a chance.
Of course, please do.
Thank you so much. My name is Amal Dukhan. I actually represent King Abdullah University of Science and Technology. I run an accelerator that focuses on intellectual property, so I'm so happy that you've mentioned that, the ladies over there and the engineers. My question basically, since I work with startups every day, we see innovation every day, smart solutions. They understand the problems of the community. They understand, we see sensors every day, drones, smart solutions. Industries also, companies are coming up with amazing technologies. And city planners are also realizing the problems that the city is suffering from. So from your experience, from your international practices, what you see, how do you make this alignment? I think it's a serious problem. We see beautiful inventions, but it's not aligned probably towards what we wish to see. UAE is on the right way and on the right track, and we see that. So we hope if there is any best practices that you can share with us to do the alignment, you know, and the strategic planning basically for that. Thank you.
I would like to answer your question. So, I mean, communication is key to achieve anything. And, Saudi Arabia being, much bigger as a country than UAE, you have also different challenges that are faced. When you look at a city like Jeddah, you have natural disasters. When you look at Riyadh, they have a different set of problems. So, interacting with authorities on the three cities, I'm happy to tell you that we've implemented an environmental solution for Mudun, who looks at the industrial authority to manage the pollution of air and water, and there has been communication when necessary between those different entities. But I think there are some basics that have to happen, right? So when you start always somehow you start thinking of your own problems, and then when you start solving them little by little, you start looking across, okay, what's happening there? How can we work together? So what I would say is time is a parameter in this journey, right? And in Saudi Arabia, whether it's the Riyadh Authority or the Jeddah Authority, they're taking very good steps to tackle this. And eventually, they will be forced to align because they will solve their critical problems, and then they will have common issues that they need to resolve together. And we, whether it's Fujitsu or any other company, are working hand in hand with the Saudi government, and we're very happy to give more advice and share best practices from the world.
We're very happy that it is happening. I think the youngsters over there are pushing, for it to happen, and the government is giving a lot of financial support. The university itself is, the best example that innovation is there and is pushing forward to it. And we hopefully one day will share a wonderful story also, about us. We know we're there, and we're going to make it, Thank you.
Right, guys,
Thank you so much.
I see a lot of hands still up. So our safest bet is basically to continue this over lunch. Please do share, me in thanking the panelists for their, very enticing discussions.
Thank you. I would like to thank you as well. You've done a great job. I mean, it's the most difficult role. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is just to announce that we'll be having a half-an-hour lunch break as opposed to 1 hour as was originally planned, just because we've run a little bit over time so that the next panel can start on time. Thank you all very much, and we look forward to seeing you back here in half. Plenty of seats. If you could move forward, then you're very welcome to. Thank you very much. Thank you. And for those of you at the back of the room, we would appreciate it, as before, if we could have a little bit of silence during the keynote speech and during the panel discussion. So it's now time for the fourth and the last keynote of the day. And could I please invite to the stage Mr. Haider Saloom, Director, Small and Medium Business Segment, Microsoft Gulf, onto the stage to deliver his keynote, which will focus on enabling innovation in the UAE. Please put your hands together.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everybody. It's tough to take the session right after lunch, especially if you had the biryani for lunch. But joking aside, my name is Haider Saloom. I work in Microsoft in Gulf. We're an internet city. And my job is specifically focused around two primarily audiences. The first is the small and medium organization, and the second one is on our partner ecosystem. So let me tell you why the small and medium organization director at Microsoft speaking to you about innovation. So with all the speakers that we heard in this morning, I personally think that the innovation, with all due respect, majority of it will not come from the big companies. It will come from the small companies, medium companies, the entrepreneurs, the startups. This is where the innovation will come. So what I'll do in the next 10 minutes is share with you what we think, what I think, what Microsoft thinks is the right recipe for innovation. And I promise you, I will not talk about anything futuristic that can cure cancer or about the Internet of Things, but everything that you can get today to support your business, to support your employees, to be more innovative. Okay? How about that? Good. So the world has changed. We all know that. We all feel that. If you're from my generation and the millennials, you see them taking over the workplace, you will feel that a lot has changed. If you have young kids, if you have young brothers and sisters, you'll know what I'm talking about. Their approach to IT, to work, to career is completely different. But let's bring it back to business. And this is the statistics that my colleague from IBM shared, okay? So of the Fortune 500 companies, okay, how many are left or still part of the Fortune 500 and did not disappear? And these are massive, big corporations. They're not small. They're not, you know, focused. They had big market share. They had big amounts of money. So it's not the size, right? 89% of these are gone. This is the statistics from last year. So only 11% of these companies that were big 60 years ago are today still relevant companies. Okay? So Jack Welch, who used to be the CEO of GE, used to say a very interesting message. He used to say, if the innovation on the outside is faster than the innovation on the inside, the end is close. So what is he saying? He's saying you need, as a company, to keep on innovating, growing, competing. So innovation is a survival. It's not only about disruptive technologies. Innovation is innovation in business models, in customer satisfaction, in employee productivity. Innovation impacts every aspect of the business. This is the innovation that we want to drive. If you're a government organization, the innovation is not how to reinvent something, but how to get closer to the customer, how to become, foster an environment for the employees to come up with new ideas, to make things better. So this is the innovation that we're talking about. So what's the importance of innovation? Okay? So innovation is critical for a company's economic development. I think the speakers in the morning, the panelists and the keynotes highlighted this. They emphasized great examples of UAE, Dubai, and other countries around the world, or other cities around the world, where there has been some massive innovation, and how that innovation helped these companies stay, or these cities, or these countries keep pace. How would a company or country like UAE compete with, countries across the region or countries across the world, keeping the pace of innovation higher? What will differentiate, a shop, an online retailer in Dubai versus an online retailer in Singapore or in India or in Egypt or in, China? This is where we need the innovation to help the companies, the collective companies in the country, become more and more innovative. They'll compete better. And if they compete better, they'll grow in ideas and customers, and they will be able to translate that into real solid economic growth and better and more positive welfare for the citizens of the country. Also, it's about how to transform operations, infrastructures, how to engage employees, how to support economic development. So how to, the innovation will be key for a GDP growth. Okay? It's not about just, I want an innovation because innovation is nice, or I want to invent the latest and the coolest website. That innovation is key for economic growth. Last but not least, it's about the SMEs. If you ask me, I interact with the entrepreneurs, with the startups every day of my life. Small and medium organizations, organizations of 10 employees, 40 employees, 100 employees. And these guys are innovating in customer satisfaction, in new product development, in redefining their processes. So they're doing a fantastic job in driving innovation in how they run their day-to-day business. So I just want to look at these two quotes. The first one, innovations are created through networks, groups of people working together. And that's a quote from Wall Street Journal. What does that mean? What am I trying to tell you? In the past, innovation was about individual innovation. How can you give innovation for an individual, for that individual to create things, to enhance things, to drive that positive change? Today, the innovation is a work group innovation. It's a collective innovation. How can you put a team of researchers to do a research? How can you put a team of marketeers to come up with the greatest or most innovative marketing plan? How can you put a group of students and their teacher and faculty to actually come up with the next, assignment at college or at university or even at school? So today the innovation are not going to come specifically from individuals only. They will come from groups, from networks. So whatever we do for these innovations, it's very critical that we focus on the group innovation, not only the individual innovation. Group productivity, work group. Boston Consulting Group say that businesses that really adopt, technology, and specifically cloud, and I heard the word cloud mentioned a couple of times this morning, and I want to emphasize that. Really, these technology leaders, get or create twice more jobs than any other company. So if you leverage technology within your organization, you're most likely going to be 15% to increase your revenue 15% faster than the same another company, same size, same everything, but without a technology factor, and you are most likely going to create twice more jobs. So what, in a summary, we're trying to say? An SME, a business, a college, a government department needs to focus on how to leverage technology. Technology will help us, in making us more productive, more efficient, grow our revenues, grow our satisfaction, and hire more people. And we need to figure out how we want these groups to work together, enable the employees, the students, the government workers to work together in work groups to generate, this network, this fabric of innovation. So to lay the groundwork of innovation, the organizations might make it easy for their employees to build these networks. It's very important to create these networks. So how do we create these networks? What is it? So I like to call it a modern workplace. Why do I like to call it a modern workplace? To differentiate it from the regular workplace. Okay? So the modern workplace, and I want to reflect on my workplace, for example. When I was much younger, when I just started working, it was fun to come to the office because the office had a lot of great technology that wasn't available for me at home. Okay? Today is the other way around. The technologies I have at home are much more cooler, are nicer than what we have in the office. So what we need to encourage the millennials, to encourage the workers, is to make the workplace a more modern, fun, more technologically advanced workplace for them to create the work groups, for them to innovate. That's what we're saying. And could be done by the modern workplace. Mobility. And mobility is not only a mobile phone or a laptop, it's the ability for you or any of the employees to be able to work, be productive, whether you're in a hotel, attending a conference, at the office, at home, traveling in a hotel in another continent, and be as productive. So the physical workplace will not be tying you down. For you to be productive, for you to be creative, for you to be innovative, you need to be sitting at your desk in the office. No longer. So that modern workplace needs a modern mobility aspect. My data needs to be available everywhere. In the cloud, we heard that cloud, okay? And I can access it from any device, whether it's my mobile phone, my laptop, my tablet, kiosk at the airport, wherever. I have access for this data. And how can I do modern meetings, live meetings? How can I do more modern content creation? Okay, how do I do video conferencing? How do I do, I mean, Microsoft is a global organization. We have offices across the Gulf. We run a lot of the meetings online. Okay, people sign in using their networks, simple tools. Okay, come in, group meetings, people in Kuwait, people in Qatar, people in Saudi, people in Oman, people in UAE, come together at the same time using simple tools and be able to share ideas, do video conferences, share presentations and spreadsheets, and collaborate together to create that innovation. Today's organizations are most successful if they are able to create and collaborate with suppliers, with employees across the region, okay, with potential customers that are outside their boundaries. So this is a very important aspect to this modern workplace. The third one is more personalized insight. We heard that this morning. How can I get all this data? Whether this data is coming from my own internal systems, from an Internet of Things, I don't want to scare you, an Internet of Things type of a system, or different types of system. How can I get all this data from my retail application and get all this and make sense out of it? Use simple tools, democratize this information and make it available for different people in the organization to make different decisions. So this is what we think is the modern workplace. So in our organizations, to foster the innovation, we need to create the work groups. The work groups will be created if we adopt these latest technologies in our workplace that will make the teams, that will unleash the creativity of the employees, of them working together in the work groups. The work group is very critical in here, and how these could work together. And the collective power, intellectual power, will group into creating something bigger than, and that will drive that innovation that we're talking about. So, in other words, these things are available today. They're not in the future. We're not talking about, there are stuff that are being developed. There are stuff that are futuristic. But this stuff exists today. I'll give you a very simple example. Today, it's very critical to be online. One of the customers I work with, very small company, implemented going to use a technical word, a CRM system, and that has a social listening capability. And what social listening does, the CRM system is a smart CRM that will allow you to go and tell you what your customers are saying about you. Will say, they're saying favorable things. What are the words? What are they tweeting? What are they sharing on Facebook? You know, if you're a business, you want to know what your customers are saying about you, what your employees are saying about you. It's very important. So these stuff are available today. You know, email, you know, office productivity, sharing this filing across different devices. That productivity is a very powerful thing. The other one I want to highlight is this concept of the cloud that helped us with scalability. This is very powerful. Let me tell you why. In the past, if you had a new idea and you wanted to launch this idea, you want a new system or a new website or a new tool, you had to go buy a capex investment, a big amount of money to buy hardware and servers and storage and network and go to a networking room, put the system up and running, and put the concept on it, the idea, the tool, the application, the mobile app, whatever it is, whatever the idea of innovation that you're thinking about. Today, you don't need all this. You go to this cloud concepts that are available in the market, okay, from Microsoft and from competitors. But you can be able to create an immediate virtual machine, get access to shared environments, and be able to create your own application, your own innovation, your own idea in a very cost-effective way. So this is the type of the tools that are available today with Power BI, things like Office 365, you know, CRM Online, all these types of tools that make the workplace a much more better place for us to innovate. So, on my last slide, I just want to say, this is what we need to do. This is where we need to go and work. We need to leverage what we have. Don't go and think about how can I throw everything and reinvest again. I want to leverage what I have. I've made an investment in X, Y, and Z systems. Okay, can I build on it? Yes. And then, how to empower the people to innovate by giving them the right tools. So innovation will come from people. People need to be working in groups, and these groups, these work groups, needs to empower with the technology that unleashes this innovation that comes from them. Only this, we will be able to get the best and the most innovative ideas from our employees, from our collective organizations to drive the economy, to drive economic value for us as companies and as country. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saloom. Now, 10 years ago, Twitter didn't exist. And 10 years before that, even the web didn't exist. So, who knows, a decade from now, perhaps artificial intelligence may make us mere bystanders and our jobs obsolete? Well, I'm not the person who can answer that question, but I think Professor Christopher Abraham, who is from the head of Dubai campus and Senior Vice President from Institutional Development at SP Jain School of Global Management, he may be better qualified to answer that question. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon to all of you. One of the biggest challenges that panelists, speakers, teachers, professors face is something that we fondly call the graveyard shift. That's the session that happens post-lunch. And we have the unfortunate timing of being there, but we hope and pray that we would be able to keep you awake and alive, because this is a topic that's going to affect each one of us. Before I get on deep dive into the topic per se, may I request our esteemed panelists to come on stage as I introduce each one of them. We have Amir Mic, please. Can we have a mic, please? Hand mic. Check. Yeah. Faster, please. Quick. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Tarek Saeed, Senior Client Advisor working for IBM. Also, artificial intelligence expert looking after the Middle East region. The subject matter expert looking after the Watson business here, which I'll be talking a lot about today.
Yes, and next, that was 30 seconds, brilliant. Go to Prasad from Etisalat.
Thank you. My name is Guru. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a great lunch. I'm the Vice President for SMB Solutions. Me and my team basically wake up every day to figure out how we can make lives of small and medium businesses here in the UAE much better. And I have another couple of roles, which is primarily, working out how smart devices can make a difference in the lives of people for enterprise. And last but not the least, I also manage road shows for Etisalat.
Lovely, thank you very much. And Dr. Usman Zafar, your turn.
My company is basically involved in the automation of public sector. So we have been doing several e-transformation projects in the region.
Mic is still not there. Probably you can share the mic, yeah. Thank you.
So we have been involved extensively past 15 years in the e-transformation programs all over the GCC. So we have seen all the development process in different regions here and get a lot of experience actually in taking all these initiatives from a very low level to actually the automation to the maximum level.
Thank you. Tom Roy Chowdhury from
MCN.
Yeah, MCN.
My name is Tom Roy, and I'm the Chief Innovations Officer at MCN. We are one of the largest advertising and marketing groups in the region, and we are part of Interpublic globally. My job is to get innovative ways of getting our brands that we work with closer to consumers and people.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Dr. Mohammed Omar.
So, Mohammed Omar, I'm professor at the Masdar Institute for Science and Technology. I'm also heading the Department of Engineering Systems and Management and the Institute Center for Smart and Sustainable Systems.
Thank you very much, esteemed panelists. I'm sure we're going to have a great time. Before we start the panel discussion, I want to set the context for what we have to say. A small video, which probably enlightens the future of work.
The future of work is all about freedom. The freedom to work when and where you want, and the freedom to work on the things that really matter. With social technologies integrated into the workplace, the future of work is closer than you might think. The workplace of the future is going to be very different than the one we know today. Freelance employees will make up approximately half of the workforce population, giving employers the opportunity to pull from a global talent pool. This gives companies the skill and expertise when and where they need it. It also gives employees the freedom and flexibility to define their own work-life balance. Going forward, anything that can be connected to the internet will be connected to the internet. The Internet of Things will allow us to collaborate in new ways. Not only will this make us more productive and engaged at work, but it will improve our quality of life by making us happier, healthier, and less stressed. Wearable devices will help you understand when and where you're most active and productive. They'll even let you know if there's somebody nearby that you should connect with. And this connectivity is going to generate massive amounts of information. Consider that within the next 5 years, we're going to be creating 20 times as much information as we are today. By accessing and analyzing all these types of information in real time, companies are going to have a unique opportunity to provide timely, relevant, and personalized experiences that can help improve people's lives. And why rely on the wisdom of a few when you can tap into the collective intelligence of many? Bring people and information together anywhere, anytime, and on any device to create new networks of fresh ideas and new approaches to solving problems. And And the same principle of collective intelligence will transform the learning process. You'll learn and teach continually through your networks, solving problems and identifying opportunities as they arise. As companies become more transparent, the future of work will see organizations shift from profits to prosperity. Success will no longer be defined by just money. Instead, it will be measured by things such as employee engagement, community involvement, sustainability, and other things that help positively impact the world. We only live once, and the truth of the matter is, technology is a part of the solution, but it's our behavior that is the real driving force behind change. In the future of work, we will have the freedom to control our professional lives, so the work we do will define us, and the impact we have.
And probably that sets the stage for what the future of work is going to be about. But let me take you back a few thousand years and start on that positive note that as a species, we have survived because of that ingenuity. So if you're scared about the future of work, saying that, is it going to displace us? Is technology going to replace people? Is machines going to replace men? Not really, because we are ingenious enough to actually take those quantum leaps. Let me give you a couple of examples to prove it and then get straight on to the panel discussion. The year was 2005. Procter & Gamble, the world's largest fast-moving consumer goods company, wanted to do a very interesting analysis to check their R&D capabilities. So they did an internal analysis and were very surprised to find, rather excited to find, they had the world's largest internal collection of scientists and research scholars. Not even a university, but this large, fast-moving consumer goods organization. But the then chairman of Procter & Gamble did something remarkable. He said, if we have 9,600 scientists on our rolls full-time, what about the world at large? There must be hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people who would be able to contribute to what we call the ideas economy. And thus was born a very interesting initiative called C+D, which was connect and develop. So gone are the days when R&D was about intellectual patents and properties, and they went out and posed all their problems, all the challenges that Procter & Gamble had outside on the wide world web and said, folks, here are our challenges, come back with solutions, get paid, get recognized, get rewarded. And guess what? Between 2005 to 2012, the number of innovations that Procter & Gamble was able to make was much larger than all the innovations that put together in the last 80 to 90 years of its existence. Let me give you a second example, and this is equally interesting. Toshiba, which used to be one of the largest suppliers, manufacturers and suppliers of laptops, had a very interesting challenge. Many of us know Toshiba was very rugged, very durable laptops, but they had a very interesting challenge. The challenge was customer service. If and when a Toshiba laptop would go broke, they would have to send it back to the Toshiba service station and get it back. Now the challenge was the turnaround time. And in a digitally fixated generation, turnaround of 3 to 7 days meant digital asset fixation. So Toshiba had a real challenge in terms of actually keeping customers happy when the laptops, went wonky. And they did something interesting, something very, very different, but very intuitive. They signed up an agreement with a company called UPS, United Parcel Service. So you must be wondering that UPS must be fast collecting those laptops, putting them to Toshiba and getting them back. Wrong. They actually trained UPS guys to troubleshoot Toshiba laptops. And guess what? So UPS courier guys and document pickup guys went on to become Toshiba troubleshooters, and in the process, Toshiba gained excellent customer ratings because the turnaround was much faster. UPS had a new stream of business because courier boys went on to troubleshoot Toshiba laptops, and in the bargain, everybody became happier. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to emphasize here is that the world might become technologically challenging, but human ingenuity, as we saw in these two examples, proves beyond doubt that we would not only survive, but thrive as a species. And somebody in the morning said a beautiful word, it's the age of abundance. And I want to add another tag to it, it's the age of infinite possibilities. We would not only survive as a species, we would thrive. And setting it on that tone, let me start with Tarek. Artificial intelligence. I mean, the name is exciting to a lot of us, and the name is scary to a lot of us. Let's hear it from the man himself who runs IBM's artificial intelligence. Yes, sir.
Yes, so if we were to start, the question is, what is the impact here of artificial intelligence on the future of work? And the answer, in my opinion, is that it will have a profound impact on the way we work in the future. for organizations to maintain a competitive edge, within the next 3 to 5 years, they have to look at using or leveraging this technology. If they're looking at improving efficiencies, if they're looking at reducing cost, it's a must-have. If we look at what analysts are saying, so Gartner predicts that artificial intelligence and smart machines will be the most disruptive technology in the history of IT, right? We see this trend developing. We're seeing applications of artificial intelligence, developing across industries, healthcare, travel, retail. We are today deploying IBM's Watson technology for customers in financial institutions around wealth management. We're also looking at applications. One of the key applications of the Watson technology is in healthcare, where we're using this technology to treat cancer. Typically speaking, a doctor would ask Watson questions related to the patient's health situation and get treatment recommendations from Watson. Now, this is the model that I want to emphasize on. From IBM's view on AI today is that it will develop as a partnership between humans and machines, where machines will help to enhance and scale human expertise, right? And this is a perfect example when you look at the situation with a doctor trying to diagnose, potential cancer situation, looks at all the data, that's coming from various medical literature, journals, also the patient's history, and gets a recommendation from Watson as to what, and actually with a level of confidence as to what the issue might be and what's the best course of treatment. We're also seeing applications of the technology in a lot of other industries, including wealth management, where you see advice being given to investors on their investment portfolios. So the potential here is there's a lot of opportunity in it. I know there's a lot of talk about, well, am I going to lose my job in 5 to 10 years? I don't. My view is that we're a long way from having this discussion and for something like this to become a reality, in my opinion. Artificial intelligence, as I said, is a partnership, and this is our view on it.
Fantastic. So that's the good news, ladies and gentlemen, that artificial intelligence is going to complement human intelligence. So thank you very much, Tariq, for enlightening us on that. Let me take the next question to Tom. Tom, the age of social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it. Now, these are no longer just social platforms. These are also platforms where people interact at the workplace. People working in virtual worlds in different continents, in different countries, also interact with each other. How do you see the linkage between social networks and the future of work?
I honestly believe that at some point in time in the near future, I suspect the entire web space will become a social network. What I'm saying is it will become a channel of collaboration, cooperation, information sharing, knowledge sharing. And what this does for the workplace essentially is it starts with flattening levels of hierarchy. So everybody at the workplace will have access to all kinds of information. So you don't really need to go through several levels to ask for permissions or gain access or educate yourself. So that is really going to create both vertical and horizontal movements in workplaces, in the enterprise environment, because people are not only able to move up very quickly based on their self-knowledge and their self-actualization, they're also able to move horizontally by changing their landscapes. So that's going to be a way that I think it's going to change things. The main impact of social media in the enterprise situation is, the way I see it, is it is making geography history, meaning that boundaries of workplace are disappearing. We have offices in, I think, 96 countries, and we are able to work, barring time zone restrictions, with any of them at any given time, which means that anybody can work on a project from anywhere and from any place. Now, before social came into the enterprise environment, what we used to say is that technology is enabling people to work anywhere, anytime. So it gets rid of the 9 to 5, it gets rid of the desk space environment. What social is doing is it's not just anywhere, anytime, it's also anybody, which means that companies today are able to look outside their walls and ask for information. So people like brands like Procter & Gamble, for example, have set up social newsrooms to listen real time and adapt accordingly, not just for their marketing, but for everything they do. So it's helping in research, it's helping in productivity, it's helping in all those areas. And I think that the time will come when we are genuinely able to look at the real ROI of social, because I don't think we've been able to explore that yet. So the horizons are opening up, and it's really combined. If you take IoT, if you take artificial intelligence and machine talking, I think that at some point in time, and I believe this will happen, is that machines will become part of the social network, meaning that you will have humans talking to machines, talking to humans. So you'll have a bunch of refrigerators in, say, the Jumeirah area, all of them deciding to buy the same brand of milk. That's a social network of machines. And if you stretch your imagination, imagine having a Facebook for machines. I'm not saying that's going to happen. All I'm saying is there's going to be a huge plethora of big data that we'll be able to mine straight out of machines, so machine-to-machine talking, humans-to-machine talking, and then brands, companies, enterprises are able to use that collective data in having better work environments, more exciting work environments, as well as more productive work environments.
Super. So the conversation between machines, humans and humans, machines and machines is already on. And if you look at it, there is a practical application of this already happening. Companies like TaskRabbit, for example, Skillshare, for example, or open platforms which actually allow this kind of collaboration. And the other thing, when you watch the video clip when we started this discussion, there's one thing about you learn and teach at the same moment. There are websites that actually do that for us. So this is again the element of human ingenuity. So I might be a specialist in a particular area, and there's a new job that's coming up in a particular skill for which I don't have, but the skill is already available who can teach me that online. So these networks today are not just platforms for relationships, but also for cooperation, collaborations, and learning. With that, let me move on to the third question to Dr. Mohammed Omar. He represents one of the icons of today's research and development in this part of the world. Now, Masdar, as we saw in the morning presentation, was an amazing institution which links academic research with institutional and industrial applications. Now, with your experience at Masdar, Dr. Mohammed, tell us, where do you see the future in terms of these trends, innovations, and linking them with the future of work?
All right, that's a big question. I'll try to give you my academic spin on it. And then, of course, it's up to you to think about it and come up with a different result. So innovation trends, we've been actually analyzing that. We've been looking at what's happening in other economies. So we looked at the US economy, and we've seen that in the 80s, because of a lot of innovation specific to automation, machine intelligence, robotics, there was a decoupling effect happening between productivity and job creation. What that means is companies are making more money, they're making more profits, but they're creating less jobs. Is that a scary scenario for us, that companies will be hiring less? I don't think so, because if we look at the holistic picture, we see that companies in robotics, automation, IBM, the Fujitsu, the Dells, the Intels, the Microsoft are hiring more people, and universities are expanding because this is a research field. We're embarking on new challenges in the smart cities, heavy urbanization. People are moving to centers where they get more services. Thus, we have to deal with green economy jobs. How are we actually going to approach those jobs? There are a lot of innovation that relates to that too. So if we look at it, we can think about innovation and its different aspects and phases, and automation, artificial intelligence are basically just different phases of that. It can create new jobs, and we're seeing that. It will change our current jobs, and it might eliminate some jobs that we don't need. And that's a fact. And the way that, for us as academic people will look at it, we're going to look at the future of work and future of jobs. We should not expect the same jobs to be there. If you are a mechanic, 20 years down the road, we might not have a mechanic. We might have a new job description and a new job title that did not exist before. And I'll tell you why. Because the way we look at jobs is basically functional tasks that a person or an organization do to achieve a service or a function at the end. For us, we decompose our jobs and we map it on the innovation landscape, on the robotics, artificial intelligence, connected machines, sensors, all that. And we see what is the cognitive load involved in each task, how repetitive each task is, and then we say, yes, we can automate it, thus we don't need a human being. But at the same time, the role of human being can be enlarged by increasing more tasks, enriched by making the human being a decision maker. He or she can decide what to do next and be more flexible. So you can make different products on the same product line without having to go through any training whatsoever, because you are in a different landscape of job creation. So I do think that we're going to see a lot of changes, and we have to be ready for it. It's about the mindset that everybody should be ready to embark on a new job description with a different title. That's my point of view as an academic.
And it is not just futuristic. Thank you, Dr. Mohammed, for that enlightenment. It's already happening. Let me give you a couple of examples. Biomedical engineering, for example, where the medical doctor is as much an engineer as he is a surgeon or a physician. Take mechatronics, for example. The mechanical engineer is as much a mechanical prodigy as much as he is well versed in electronics. And this gap is narrowing today. And as we see, people are tuning themselves. And let's not forget, the future belongs to the millennials. And their rate of adaptation and adoption is much faster than our generation. When I say our, the people here, maybe many of you are millennials. So I think it's not impossible that we would be able to be ready for those new skills and the emerging technologies. But as you rightly said, there would be a number of jobs, a number of skills that would become redundant, but that doesn't mean that humanity is going to become redundant. My next question is to the mobile telephonic expert. We hear this common refrain about the future is going to be mobile, and it is true. Now the mobile device, the ubiquitous mobile device, is no longer an object of communication. It's photography, it's a remote sensor, it's a wearable, it's all kinds of things. Where do you see mobile technology linking us with the future of work? Does that mean we sit at work, sit at home, and then use these mobile telephones for work? The expert from Etisalat.
Thank you, Professor. And I think you left the fundamental questions at the end. Let me expand that a little bit to actually cover machine to machine rather than just mobile technologies. I think, if I remember, my mom probably started me very early in the understanding of machine to machine. Very long ago, she asked me, Guru, do you know what your name stands for? And I said, you know, an enthusiasm must be something really good. And she said, you have good understanding, but you're relatively useless because you don't sense, you don't understand, you got to learn to manage your environment better. And I think that's what you know, M2M really helps us do. But on a serious note, machine to machine really enables wired or wireless devices which are similar in nature to communicate with each other, share intelligence for the purpose of monitoring as well as controlling. If I were to be an evangelist or a futurist, and I always consider me as one, M2M, or the Internet of Everything that we were talking about today, really enables us to be better stewards of finite resources in the future, whether it's time, whether it's money or resources. It will actually help us to really sense better, really have good understanding, and also be able to be automating it and understanding the environment, and for that matter, life in general. In a utopic future, and I really agree with Professor Chris here, smarter machines really will enable us to actually do more with less, and at the same time enable us to balance work and life better. But if it was to be less prophetic and come down to earth, M2M technologies really offer great benefits to business today, especially in terms of cost savings, improved productivity, and of course, tremendously help improve customer experience. There are numerous examples around us. If you look at even smaller e-commerce companies in the UAE who really use M2M technologies to improve customer experience, save a lot of costs, and added productivity. If you look at some of the futuristic applications, considering the standard ones, I think the great innovations are happening in the industrial automation area. You look at airlines, you look at automation companies really using M2M technologies and mobile technologies. You look at logistics, FedEx, Aramex, companies like that really use these technologies. You have aviation companies, like Emirates, for example, were leaders in this area. More importantly, significant changes in healthcare and the use of smart mobile technologies. I know many years ago, I was a customer of Kaiser Permanente, and they actually gave me, this was almost about 12 years ago, they gave me a sensor that I could use to actually monitor my heart and my diabetes. There are lots of real great examples of M2M technologies and mobile technologies in helping us do better at work. And last but not the least, the growth, the tremendous growth you're seeing, from 300 million connections today to growing to 2.3 billion connections by 2020 epitomizes really where M2M will add value and help us do better work. And last but not the least, I have to say this, it's a lot. We're really pioneering some work on M2M platforms and technologies, primarily to enable customers to use M2M technologies to create differentiation, primarily in a platform and also building in an app and a partner ecosystem to enable you. But I think there's not a day very far where machines can not replace, but actually help us become better at our work.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very positive note, that they don't replace, but they complement. On a lighter note, at least till now, machines don't have emotions. So you wouldn't have, airline pilots getting emotional problems and crash landing planes for the wrong reasons. So I think machines would help us to make life much more easier, much better. And my last question on this first session to Dr. Usman, who has extensive experience working on the knowledge economy with the governments. So share some of those experiences and how it's transforming the workspace in the public sector.
Yep. Thank you, Professor.
And especially in the GCC region where you've done a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. When we talk about the transformation, especially, I always like talking about the GCC and our local examples, because some of our implementations in public sector are really world class, and there have been a lot of successful case studies which have been published. So now we are talking on IBM Watson technology. It's one of the greatest technology, and I think we, with the help of our Canadian partner, IMX Systems Limited, we have done an implementation of robot with Ministry of Tourism over here. So most probably, so what we did basically is we gathered a couple of students with the help of tourism department in Dubai, and very soon you will see, like when you come to Dubai airport, and then you have a chance to actually interact and ask questions from robot using IBM Watson technology. Now, the most important part, which we really need to observe when we talk about public sector or large enterprises, we have spent millions of dollars in automation, in providing value-added services to our customers. But still, we are not able to get the maximum return of investment from all these services. So when you talk about the ideas of artificial intelligence or robotics or drone technologies or all these nice Internet of Things happening around us, one bottom line question is what our customers want, what we really need to deliver to the end customers. So when any person who is connected with the internet devices, which most of us are, especially in this room, averagely we are carrying like 2 internet-based connected devices and smart devices. So what we really need to do is basically the accessibility of the information on our palm device. So CIOs, CTOs, basically they really have to work hard in providing those services or information, which is available or accessible to the people. So far, some of the key challenges are like how we can actually integrate different organizations together, how we can develop like PPP, public-private partnerships among different entities. So those are still the bottom line questions. So technology enablement is there, like my colleague said. There are a lot of technologies which are available, but it's all about getting the right strategy in place and making sure you have the right path in getting things, like done. For a very simple reason, like we talk about social change, behavior change. So if you look into, for example, like Google itself, they have moved totally all their artificial intelligence on social engineering. Like you just ask questions down the line and you will be able to extract all the information. So this is something very important. I always challenge, like in the next 5 years' time, you won't see any portals working around with very complex e-services. So this shift is happening. So basically, the bottom line question is the accessibility of the information on the internet-based connected devices, where you should be able to actually ask machine and you should get responded very quickly. So still, I must say that we are going into a right direction, but there are certain initiatives like having the right big data or open data strategy basically for the large organization. This is something very important, and you have to open yourself to allow your partners and public actually to come and develop things for you. So this is where basically the artificial intelligence or the amplification of artificial intelligence, like plays a very important role.
Thank you very much, Dr. Usman. And I think, from an individualistic perspective, you must be wondering, so if these machines are going to come up, all these fascinating technologies are coming up, will I become redundant? That could be a troubling question for a lot of us. Here's the good news. Now, the age of brick and mortar education is being radically revolutionized. Some of you may be familiar with the revolution called MOOCs, Massive Online Open Courseware. So here's the challenge. You are currently working in a particular assignment, and you suddenly feel that, oh my God, my job is going to be replaced by probably either a machine from somewhere else or a human being in another part of the world. Now, here's the good news for you. The world of knowledge is available to you at the touch of a button, maybe a mobile button. All you need is a medium-sized internet connectivity, and here's the further good news. All the information, all the knowledge that you want from the best and the smartest brains in the world, let's say like the Harvards, the Whartons, the Princetons, you name it, across the world, are made available to us absolutely free of cost. Coursera, edX, and these are just a couple of platforms. There are hundreds of platforms where you can learn and actually upskill yourself. And again, I'm going back to that concept of human ingenuity. The opportunities lie there. The challenges are there in terms of machines coming in, but machines are not going to replace us because we would be ready to take it up to the next level. So let me move on to the next session, which is 1 minute of each of your expert opinions on where do you see these disruptive technologies, the online collaborations taking us, and where do you envisage the future of work?
So in my view, again, I just want to reiterate, it is a partnership. And I think the fact of the matter is, what IBM's done with the Watson technology is that we've opened it up. We've come to a realization that, although IBM is a big organization, we cannot, dream up and develop and implement all these potential ideas out there. So we believe that, with the opening up of the Watson ecosystem, we're opening up potential for, for everybody out there, for the public, for developers, to build and create new AI-powered applications, right? And that would enable you to leverage all the potential out there, machine-to-machine learning, the various opportunities within industries. And with that, I think although there is a loss of repetitive jobs in the future, however, the opportunities that these platforms would open up for for governments, for the private sector, to develop all these various types of applications are wonderful. I'll give you a very interesting example here. One of the initiatives that the government of Dubai is doing is an open data initiative that's coming coming online very soon. And if you look at that initiative, that making all that data, that governmental data, available to the public, and then applying methods of the combination of cloud technologies and artificial intelligence to these apps, people will be dreaming up all kinds of new ideas and business models that create all various opportunities here. So lots of potential there.
Thank you very much. Guru, what's your take on this?
Well, fundamentally, from Etisalat's perspective, I think we focus on three core elements. The first thing is that we provide everybody ubiquitous access to stay connected. Anytime, any place, anywhere. That's a given, and that will eventually become a right for every individual. The second aspect is to be the enabler in providing businesses and consumers alike a platform and a medium to be able to conduct business or to deliver services. And the third is to actually work very closely with governments to be able to enabling smart cities, smart grids, and actually make the city smarter and eventually, as someone said, the human being smarter within the UAE. But we believe strongly in these three fundamentals, and I think a lot of the investments that Etisalat is making is actually driving this. Last but not the least is also being able to provide open cloud infrastructure that could actually enable almost everyone to be using that infrastructure to deliver smart services on top of that.
Dr. Usman,
Yep.
your take on this.
Yep. There are a lot of opportunities when you talk about public-private partnerships, and I think the time have come where the large organization, SMEs, and public sector actually have to join their hands together. But still, we can't become smart unless you don't have the right cloud strategy for your organization. We talk about cloud, but still this region is far behind when you talk about cloud initiatives in both in public and private sector. Second thing is interoperability and the integration between the legacy applications and all the services basically which you are offering to the public. Third thing is big data and open data initiatives. We are still behind with the rest of the world when you talk about open data strategies at a country level, state level, and also at the departmental level. We don't have still in the region any open data portals which are available to the public where you invite them and then you get free development from the students, researchers, and other communities. And the third and the fourth element is the making sure that in your organization you have the right setup for the knowledge management program, where you enable actually your staff members, where you enable your customers to actually get benefits of this knowledge management environment. So unless you don't look into all these four important elements, it is very difficult to become smart or offer any smart services.
Very interesting. Tom?
I got it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah, you want.
I suspect that speaking from my point of view, where I was talking about social media and the enterprise and the work environment, I think the very definition of social in the work environment is a phrase of three words. You're connected, you're collaborative, and you're mobile. I mean, that also defines the millennial in our point of view. But I think that the two things that are going to happen in the work environment, one, I believe, is that you are, as a brand, as a company, going to crowdsource a lot of your work that you need to get done. And as an employee, as a SME, as a startup, you're going to not crowdsource, but crowdsource a lot of the information that's out there. You can change directions in your career. You can move sideways, upwards, whichever way you want, because there's so much out there. As Professor Abraham mentioned, you can get Harvard courses right now online. So you can crowdsource information, and companies will crowdsource their work.
Superb. Last but not Dr. Mohammed.
All right, back to academic opinions. So to tell the truth, if you think about it, people talk about the industrialization, and they're talking about inventing the hardware. Then we move to basically the software. So we start talking about the age of data. Right now, I think we're moving to the age of interfaces. How to interface these data, these developed knowledge into people and into machine. So artifact to artifact, artifact to user, interactions. To do this, if you think about it, we need standards. So we need standards that's shared globally, so everybody agrees on the interfaces that will be shared. If we think about the mobile, cell phones revolution, I think it happened because of the standard. The GSM standards unified everybody involved, the stakeholders together, to produce something that is a fair service that everybody can use around the globe from different producers, from different providers, from different people that will sustain the system. So I believe that moving to interfaces will push us away from fast computing into actually inference engines and people, sharing information in a standardized fashion in a fabric kind of fashion. So it doesn't have limits.
I just totally agree with this point of view, and I think that how often, you were talking about how some of us fear of losing our jobs. I believe that when you set standards in this industry, and when you set standards in any game in the work environment, we forget that between the hardware and the software is the most important bit, which is the mindware, and that's a human being. So it's not very, very soon that you're going to lose your job. That's what I believe.
You could lose your job, but you can skill yourself for newer jobs. Because I believe, to encapsulate the essence of what our expert panelists have said, the future of work is open. The future of work is collaborative. The future of work is accessibility. The future of work is about interfaces. And last but not least, the future of work is about the age of abundance and the age of infinite possibilities and opportunities. And as ingenuine as we are as human beings, I'm sure we would definitely upskill because the opportunities are there. I'm sure many of us know that Facebook and Google are now on the plan to get every human being on the planet connected. That's going to happen in the next few years. Once that happens, everybody is connected, everybody has access to everything. So with those few words, let me throw open the floor for a few questions. And if you'd like to, yes, sir, the gentleman there who's raised his hand first. Yes, can we pass the mic, please, there, quickly? Yes, thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Ijaz. By profession, I'm an architect, actually. So when we talk about the artificial intelligence, so I want to know that first part of the question, that is it fully business, motivated, or because as a common man, it doesn't matter for me whether it's a mobile bank branch or it's a, the normal bank branch, or it's a mobile doctor or a man doctor, right? Or another thing, that are we moving towards a emotionless work, right? Because then still I value the handmade painting, a beautiful painting, as compared to the beautiful printout, right? And another thing, that homemade, there are a lot of things we can say that the live singing is still valuable, right? Other than the tape recorder. So where are we moving? If we are moving towards an emotionless atmosphere, right? Where we can interact, we have a lot of things, but without emotions, right? Machine to machine, and we are becoming part of that atmosphere as a machine, right? So where we are standing.
Very interesting question. Dr. Tariq, would you like to answer that? Being in that space.
I can try. so towards the first question around being business versus.
You can sit down, sir. You can sit.
Yeah. So the first question, correct me if I'm.
First question was, is it a business driven, or only, it's the money is involved in that, industry specific, or it's a common man's need? I don't understand as a business intelligence. Is it a common man's need?
So today, I mean, I can speak for the Watson technology today with IBM, and it's very much business driven as it is now. There's also obviously some benefits to it for the common man. If you look at the application of artificial intelligence in the healthcare industry, where with artificial intelligence you're getting better efficiencies and better accuracy in diagnosing illnesses. So treatment of cancer is a big deal, right? And when you have when you have artificial intelligence aiding doctors and augmenting their capabilities, that's one thing. On the other front, it is also a business-driven thing because today there's various when I have my conversations with customers, right, it's always a discussion with the business and not the technology folks, right? A lot of the AI, if not most of it out there, provided by IBM or otherwise, are very much cloud-based. So you do not look at really have to worry about having the technical skill set in-house, right? Because that would be delivered. So it's about disrupting a business problem, right? Disrupting a business process and solving a business problem. Right? I'm not sure if I answered that first question.
It's okay.
Right?
Because if you talk about this one, the remote doctor can help me whatever I will tell that. He cannot feel my pain. He cannot judge my condition, right? Like the remote bank branch cannot answer all my questions. Whatever I'll feed, after some time it can treat the common problems. but the human interaction or the emotional interaction that we will lose in the future world. That's what I understand.
I think it complements. Let me give you an example. I mean, some of you may be familiar with this fascinating eye hospital called Arvind Eye Hospital, which is the largest of its kind in the world. They do 1 million+ operations, eye operations, in some of the remotest parts of the world. The way they do it is using intelligence, which is machine intelligence, and using human interface. So the emotionless world, I don't think is going to happen. You would certainly complement machine technology because it uses satellite technology, imaging technologies, and advanced technologies to reach out to the remotest place. Use paramedical staff to actually transfer knowledge and information. And there's a doctor sitting in a city hospital who's actually remotely doing the operations. And at the end of the day, there is a human interface. So I don't think we would completely be null and void because at the end of the day, we would interface as human beings. So I think emotions will still continue. Yes. Next question, if you have any.
Professor, as you said rightly before, that's why it's called artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Not natural intelligence because
that's right.
Hopefully Watson will have emotion in it too.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Yes, there's a long way for that, for the feelings and emotions of machines to iterate with us. Yes, this gentleman here.
Thank you. Yes, we are going to a future of work that is more accessible, but by people without disabilities. What about people with disabilities? And I'm saying people with disabilities because they're not people with special needs. These are their rights, and we need to make it accessible for them as well as us. So are we going towards that area? Because at this time, right now, we're not giving these people all of their rights. They have some rights that are taken from them. So are we working towards giving people with disabilities all of their rights, or are we just considering people without disabilities?
Very interesting question. Any of the panelists would like to take that? Because after that, I'll answer. Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah, Dr. Mohammed is also.
Yeah, excellent question. Like,
excellent.
For example, like any large organization, or when you talk about like the state level, I mean, artificial intelligence have gone quite far when you talk about like providing services to the disabled people. So for example, there are a lot of implementations, like where the people gone to the war and they lost their legs or limbs. So those have been replaced with like robotics, like which is helping them a lot in actually to be alive and to do all their normal stuff as a normal person. Then again, one thing we should not forget, like see, we live in an information age nowadays. There is a lot of information all around us. So when you talk about the technologies like artificial intelligence, so it enables you to actually be more informative, organize that data. At the moment, like all these technologies which we are talking about, the data is scattered here and there. So it enables you basically to get the right answer, like from multiple resources. So as a person, again, going back to your stuff, when you talk emotionless, so actually it is enabling you in different verticals. So like IBM spoke about the health industry, or stock exchange, or enabling different type of services in different verticals. So basically, it is helping you out to get maximum out of it. And this is enabling you to get, like maximum from the data which is all around you.
Dr. Omar?
Yes, actually, I think people with disability will benefit a lot from this age. And the reason because right now most of the design concepts are moving for what we call affordance-based design.
One more question.
Or human-centered design, or experience-based design. And the machines are there just to remove all the mechanical load from the user. So
okay.
Right.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
Just to add to what Dr. Omar said, when you asked that question, I was reminded of this fascinating physicist. Many of us know him as Dr. Stephen Hawkins. Now, Dr. Stephen Hawkins can't move. He's a quadriplegic. He's got a neuron disorder that doesn't allow him to move around. But he's got the world at his fingertips. He's probably one of the most intelligent persons on planet Earth. And I would look at it the other way around, that the more, let's say, challenged people are much more enabled by technology, because today they don't really need to move out. They can be where they are and get the world to their fingertips and to wherever they are. So I think it is a great enabler that technology has done. And yes, there would always be those friends and relatives. So we would never lose that human emotion. We would always remain human, right? Artificial intelligence will be artificial. We run out of time, so we wouldn't be able to take any more questions, but all the panelists would be available for any discussions. I just want to end this on a very interesting note. A few years back, I read this beautiful story about British Post, and probably that will also address the question that you asked. British Post had launched a new automatic stamp vending machine, and they wanted to actually communicate that extensively. So they used to go around talking to people when they're standing on those long queues and telling them about this new facility. So there was a long queue on a particular counter, and the postmaster who was sitting behind the counter wanted to enable his customers. So he comes across to this old lady standing at the end of the queue and telling her, "Ma'am, you don't need to stand on this long queue. We have this lovely automatic stamp vending machine that can facilitate it." The lady looked at him and said strangely, she said, "You know what? The machine is not going to inquire about my arthritis." So ladies and gentlemen, machines would come there, they would complement us, they would help us, they would assist us. But they're not going to replace us, because the human would always remain human. There would probably be a time when machines will start having emotions, but as I heard from the expert himself, it's a long, long way ahead. So with those few words, we would remain human, we would be genuine, we would fight those challenges and move on towards a world full of infinite possibilities. With these few words, thank you very much for spending an afternoon with us. Good luck and God bless each one of you. Thank you very much. Thank you, panelists, for this amazing discussion. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Abraham. Thank you very much to the panelists. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the workshops. We will have 7 high-profile entrepreneurs who will be keen to share their knowledge and experience. These will be taking place upstairs in the rooms around the amphitheatre. Is that quite the right word? Yes. However, unfortunately, Mr. Omar Alayoun will not be present for his workshop, which was the dynamics of the Internet of Everything. But apart from that, every workshop will be taking place. Thank you so much for joining us, for being such an engaging audience, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.